All right. Hi, everyone. It's the CCRSA here. You've got myself, Amanda, Carmela, and Franca. We saw an interesting video talking about the Humboldt tragedy in an interview with Sunny, who is a truck driver who's very frank about his experience in the industry and, some of the comments that we get in the industry in general. And we received a few posts about posting this video, but we thought it might be better to post it with some discussion because there are a lot of really important topics that are brought up that often get brushed aside as racism or just not liking trucks or, take your pick. There's lots of issues. And so we thought perhaps it would be best to show some excerpts of the video and have some discussion so that we can sort of have a more constructive conversation about these issues that impact all of us. So I'm going to play the video and we're going to listen and then pause and discuss a little bit. So here
Sunny,
we go.
the Canadian-born Punjabi trucker with no filter who went viral for calling out corruption in the trucking industry, met with Chris Joseph.
How are you, brother?
A father who lost his son in the Humboldt Broncos tragedy when Jaskarad Singh Sidhu blew through a stop sign, injuring 13 and killing 16 Canadians, including Jackson Joseph.
I do have one singular mission myself right now, and I will not stop until he's deported.
Yeah, just go to India, man. Go home, bro. Like, those kids wanted to go home that day too, man. You still have opportunity. Just go home.
Sidhu was ordered deported years ago, but he has been fighting tooth and nail to avoid being deported back to India. He was scheduled to be deported yesterday, but at the 11th hour, a federal judge granted a temporary pause.
And now the government's just favoring this guy, which is unreasonable. But the Liberal government does this on purpose because immigrants vote for the Liberal government.
Sunny says people like Sidhu, his corrupt employers, and the community members who raise funds for his legal bills have caused irreparable damage to the reputation of Punjabis in Canada for decades to come.
You guys came in 8 years and their whole reputation up.
So I wanted to start with why we're discussing licenses and why we're discussing new truck drivers that are unqualified and so forth, and chameleon carriers and all this stuff, including this video. It is because the truck yards in our area are also full of these new immigrant drivers that many are unqualified. Regarding what he was saying, he was a permanent resident, I found out. So he's not an asylum seeker. He was a permanent resident when he got here, and he went straight into the trucking industry. But he had only been driving solo for about 2 weeks before this happened. Apparently, there was only less than 2 weeks of training for him also.
Okay, so I'm totally torn here on the situation. These people are brought in to the country and they are forced to drive with very little training. And so this tragedy did happen. It did happen. He caused it. He wasn't obviously trained enough to drive a transport truck. But at the same time, what happens to the company that didn't train him, that gave him a license? You know, all the responsibility was on him. Even though the government knows what's happening, they still wanted to deport him. It's my understanding, though, in the last week is that he has, the judges come in and stopped the deportation from happening, but it was a condition when he was, when he was prosecuted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm torn. At the beginning, when we first started and we didn't realize what was happening, if you were to ask me about a year and a half ago, I would have said right away, deport. But knowing the victims, and because they are victims as well, that are pushed in and thrown into the driving chair, I'm torn at this time about if he should have been deported or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was a mother of one of those children, my answer would be different for sure. I totally understand what the parents are saying, that they want justice, and that would be a deportation.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting too is a lot of, like, he's gone to court many times, and every single time he's gone to court, it's been deport, right? That's been the final decision, and then it gets brought forward again, and then they decide deport, and then another appeal, and then deport, and it just keeps going and going. And I think that's also hard for the families to live with too. What I thought was really interesting in that opening piece that Sunny was talking about is the fact that these people are coming here, and that it's the Liberal government essentially that's sort of at fault for letting them stay here, and basically him getting this sort of special treatment more than, perhaps a native born Canadian would, regardless of, your skin color. Uh, you know, Perhaps the newer immigrants are getting favored, is what I hear him saying. And I have to be honest, I don't know that it's one particular party over another. They're all just as bad as each other. And quite honestly, what we're seeing right now, we all know where the Ontario government stands with these things. They're doing nothing. They're basically turning a blind eye. And just as we're seeing, the last few days, at the federal level, now that they have their majority, they're turning off all the cameras on their standing committees. They're, going to events put on by people that knowingly support the Driver Inc. model, and the lack of training and a lot of those things that are happening in those companies. And we're getting shut out again. Likely a blind eye is being turned. It doesn't matter whether it's liberal or conservative. It's all happening.
Yeah.
But there it is again, is the Driver Inc. model, and the majority of what's in these illegal truck yards. And what I've recently found out is the company he drove for, within 10 days, had another company opened up under the same address and the same other employee that he had driving.
Yeah.
And that's Chameleon Carriers. They just change names on the flip of a dime. And it's just, that's what we have in these yards. And, seeing all this, and we've always said it, Humboldt, another tragedy of Humboldt is just when,
Absolutely.
if, and, something needs to be done on the federal, because then they could even, leave there. And he could be driving here for all we know, because they don't interprovincially check their licenses or their insurance or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he can literally be driving here and we don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so something needs to be done municipal for the yards, provincially, for the licenses and so forth, and federally for interprovincial.
Yeah. And that's where I was getting at, that they're tackling, they're just focusing on the driver himself, and not the actual company where it came from, when really they know what's happening. It's happening. They know what the reports are there. We talked to a lot of MPs, we talked to MPPs. Everybody knows it's happening. So why aren't they going after the company that he was driving for, and go back into the timeline of what happened? Where did he get his license from? Is that school being investigated?
Yeah.
We don't know any of that.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next clip.
So you just kill people, so I don't know why you want to be here anyways, and you're just fighting. You're not caring what the families got killed. If your son was on that bus, I don't know how you'd feel, bro.
How would you feel?
I don't even think you'd make it to the ambulance, to be honest. If my kid was on that bus or somebody else, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. And then it's also it's not just like the driver's fault too. It's the whole industry. Most companies do not provide good training to drivers. Back in the days when I started trucking, Indian carriers were actually good. They used to, if you're a new driver, they'll put you on a team with a professional for at least a year on the road, so you learn everything. Now they don't do that anymore. Now there's no paid training. Now they don't give you the tools. You can literally go to Indian trucking company right now, walk in, sign an application, and just go on the road the next day. And then the insurance companies are to blame too, because they give exemptions for immigrants to jump on insurance companies. So anybody born and raised in Canada, you get your license right now, nobody's going to give you a job because you don't have experience. But now if you come from India, you get your license, then you have an insurance exemption because apparently it's not your fault that you don't have any driving experience in Canada.
So they basically, for the insurance, they use fake names and addresses. They do what they want, right, on the roads, and then they don't pay the fines, and then they just get another fake, name driver's license. And the thing is that is on the drivers, isn't it?
I think so.
They should have a responsibility to say no to that. That's
They should, but it kind of depends on what situation they're in, right? Like if they got here, promised all these sorts of things, had their passport taken when they got here, and basically they're indentured servants to this company until they work off the amount of money to get them here. Like, I don't know how much say they think they have, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of the insurance, it's really it's a very interesting situation that Sunny brings up there, where a Canadian, a person born here, you can't get insurance to drive a truck right away. You need that, many years of driving experience or job shadowing or those kinds of things. But if you come from another country, and it doesn't have to be India, it can be anywhere. You come from another country and you get some insurance loophole so that you're not penalized for not having Canadian experience. Well, you have winter road conditions here that you may not have in the country where you came from. So, like, none of that makes sense to me. But yet again, it's another loophole. And then talking about facility insurance, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. It's not a good situation. And I mean, facility insurance, for those that don't know, is essentially sort of a stopgap meant to make sure that everybody has the ability to be insured, even if you're sort of very high risk to be insured. And especially in the trucking industry, that's actually something that's sort of, that loophole again is being relied upon for like consistent insurance for a lot of companies that really shouldn't be insured because they're not safe. They don't produce safe drivers, and they're, putting all our lives at risk.
And they're staying on it for years.
Yeah.
Which they should. They should be cleaning up their records and going on to the regular insurance. Instead, they know this is a loophole. And what my worry is, if they pay yearly, do they go bankrupt before the year's over and then they don't even pay it? As far as I heard, there's even a discount, if I'm not mistaken, or no, for facility insurance.
I think their rates are sort of a little bit higher, but they're not like, I don't think they're like insanely higher than regular insurance. Basically, the whole point is, regular insurance will charge you a crazy amount so that you won't be insured. And so you go to facility and they insure you for, yes, a higher rate, but not like prohibitively higher.
And who funds the facility insurance of Canada?
We do. All of us.
So, yeah, with this insurance, and even when they get insurance and, a tragedy happens, these companies go bankrupt and they ghost everybody, and, with the insurance and stuff like that, they have a hard time going through the insurances, and there's just too many loopholes.
Absolutely.
And then they have fake names and fake licenses, and they get fined. They don't pay the fines, and then they change their names on their driver's licenses. And we don't know the conditions they're in, correct, Carmela?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We don't know what kind of conditions that they're living in, or what conditions that they came here to Canada with, right? Like if they came with on a condition that they have to pay X amount, then they have to pay that amount. They're forced to, and they can't say no to anything.
And they don't have their passports because they've been taken away.
A lot of times, yeah, their passports have been taken away, and a lot of them are kids. A lot of them are in early 20s. I mean, I was on Highway 50 today, and that opened my eyes today to start looking at how old do you think each driver is, and there's a lot of young kids in these trucks, and we don't know the condition that they came here with, right? So if they're scared or if they're forced, then they'll do whatever they're told to do.
At the same time, there should be some kind of education going around saying you can go to the Indian consulate and get a, emergency passport to go back home if you need to, and so forth, right? So there are ways around it. Whether they're educated to know enough that there is, that I don't know.
And I'm not sure that a lot of them don't even realize, especially at the beginning when they get here, that they are actually being exploited. Because, who knows what conditions they came from, if they were driving a truck in another country, they likely don't know the rules here, or like the expectations of what they should be paid here. So, they may come here very naive and not realizing that, although the money they think they're making is great, is nowhere close to what they should be making. The living conditions that they're living in, perhaps they think it's, maybe not normal, but like, okay, everybody who starts out here starts out that way. And that's probably not the case. It could be an issue of education.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, fine, you're in a bind right now, and you don't know how to get out of it, or you don't realize you're being exploited. This is where the government needs to come in.
Yeah.
We've got drivers on our roads that are unqualified, driving 80,000 pounds. Although we feel sympathy for them, they are also weapons on our road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where government is letting everybody down, including the truckers.
Yeah. The good truckers.
And the good truckers, the exploited truckers, the commuters on the road, and the only people that are making a profit out of this is the trucking companies that bring them here.
That's right. That's right. And that's another part we need to explain as well, that, we get a lot of people saying, oh, you guys don't need trucks, so don't order from Amazon. It's not about not having trucks. It's about having responsible drivers, responsible sourcing, for companies as well, for retailers, manufacturing, that, they're looking for the best bid, but look for carriers with proper, proper history, proper, they know that their drivers are good drivers. Yeah. Because on the flip side, all of this is what's happening is that the whole industry salary has come down, because it's all about bringing people in for cheaper labor. So what happens to those good truckers that were making a decent amount of money is that they're getting outbid, and a lot of the companies are going out of business. And that's not what we want. We want a responsible shared road with good carriers.
Yeah. Good carriers that, deliver proper training, or ensure that their drivers have proper training. They're properly insured. Their equipment is properly maintained. They know how to, do their circle checks and check all of those things that they're supposed to be checking. There's a lot that goes into driving a truck safely. I know for myself that is never anything that I would feel comfortable doing. I just don't have that skill set, and I definitely appreciate those truckers that do. They give up a lot to be on the road, to get us the things that we need. But at the same token, we need those truck drivers who are on the road to be properly trained and safe and driving safe trucks. And there's quite a few cases where that's not what's happening, and the government is falling down in their responsibility for bringing that forward.
We have, as our members too, that agree with a lot of things we're saying too. There's unqualified the drivers. At the same time, these guys are brought in under LMIAs, and they're working it off, so they're not even getting paid. And Sunny does mention that in other videos where these truckers are not even getting paid.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to work off some LMIA that probably doesn't even exist. And things have to change all the way around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one.
They do this every day. They hit people, they crash into people, they cause accidents, casualties all the time. Since these immigrants started coming here, our truck insurance doubled up.
And you raised this issue in my last interview, and it gone viral. You have become quite a superstar, as you would put it, right? How has there been any negative consequences of you speaking out against the industry?
Well, like the smart ones get it, but the stupid ones don't, because the ones that are like, actually even the Indian carriers like me that are born and raised here, we don't like the immigrants either. Because like they just slash our rates and lower our wages, so we can't even pay our bills.
Now, if a white person were to say what you're saying, if they were to expose what's happening in the trucking industry, they could be accused of racism, as they usually are accused of. Do you find yourself in a special position, but then do you also get backlash from your community?
Bro, it's not even about that anymore. Like, we shouldn't even be looking at colors. What culture? Like, we're all Canadian. It doesn't matter about the color of our skin. I don't even know why people talk about it. It's like dummy talk.
So Sunny brings up an interesting topic that comes up in discussions in our group very often about racism, and how a lot of times many people in the industry are accused of racism, or people that are critical of the industry are accused of racism. And his opinion is that it isn't even about that. I think we agree. Carmela, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this last week with on a podcast we were on with the gentleman who was interviewing us about, he asked, is this about race? And absolutely not. There's a lot of carriers that are different races. So I know we're seeing a lot of backlash, and it's not about any kind of race at all. Here in town, we have an Eastern European company, right? Not mentioning any names, but it doesn't matter. All of us are on those roads, be it truck drivers, be it our children, being ours, our family members, our own husbands. They're on the roads. It doesn't matter what color anybody is. Anybody could be a victim. Anybody could have been on that Humboldt bus. It could have been any race. So why is that even a factor? It shouldn't be a factor at all. The factor is it's all about road safety and making sure that everybody on those roads are properly trained. And then when you talk about a transport truck, that's a huge weapon. So anybody that's going to hit, it doesn't matter what race they are or who's driving the truck. It wouldn't matter to us at all. It shouldn't matter.
Yeah. Franca, you want to say anything?
In the USA, they've got ICE right now. And their race in the trucking industry is South Asian, Eastern European, Somalian, Mexican, and nobody is calling out races other than, because ICE is going after the illegal immigrants. Here it is mostly South Asians. And we are being called racist because we're asking for safe roads. We're asking for qualified drivers. If they were all from Western Europe, England, Ireland, let's say they were all from Ireland, would we be called great? I don't think so. But there is Eastern European, there is, you know, South Asians, there is Western Europeans, people that have come here and gotten their licenses, and they're unqualified to drive. So it really bothers me when people say, you know, the racist card to us, because it is completely not true. Um, and all three of us come from a very multicultural area growing up.
Yeah.
Very multicultural friends that I have to this day, whether it's religion or race. And nobody's ever called me racist, you know, and we're just looking out for the safety of you know, our residents. You know, we've gone as far as the federal government now. And there was no race involved, if I'm not mistaken, correct? When they're talking about Drivers Inc.
I think it has come up in a few of the discussions, but it hasn't been like a main focus of the topic. And I would say a lot of times when we get interviewed or when there's a post that's kind of sort of on that line, you know, that's the first thing that's discussed. And I feel like it's, I don't know if cop out is the right word, but it's an easy thing to bring up and just discredit the whole discussion because, you know, the claim is, oh, you're racist. Quite frankly, it has nothing to do with race. Granted, where we live, a lot of us live in Bolton. The three of us do, but like a lot of our members live in Bolton. And that happens to be right at the intersection of Brampton, Vaughan, and Caledon. And that happens to be where a lot of South Asians live and have companies and trucking companies. So, of course, a lot of the instances that we see here, several of them being illegal truck yards, we see a lot of that. But as we said, there's also like some Eastern European countries that own illegal yards and have been causing havoc here. But quite frankly, it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with following the rules and being responsible with what you're doing as a driver on the road. And there are lots of people that of all colors and all races that drive very poorly on the roads, cars and trucks. So
Cars, I was just gonna say, yeah, like the cars today was a crapshoot today. People just driving in and out of lanes in front of people, and it's mind-boggling to see, right? And I'm not looking into the cars to see what color they are. I'm watching that car going in and out of traffic, and it's really scary. It's
it
very
is.
scary.
We're just
Very
trying not to die. We're just trying not to die on the road. That's all.
Do you guys remember this? I'm not going to pinpoint the yard, but there was a certain truck yard that called me out saying it's illegal.
Yeah.
And I spoke with them and I got them proof because they were trying to say they weren't illegal. He was Italian.
Yeah.
And I called him out.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter the race.
It's bad behavior. It's not following rules. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's about following the rules and making sure you're taking responsibility for what's in your control to do the responsible thing and be a responsible human being and business owner in the world for everybody else that has to live here. Right?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Have a call to the community. How should the community handle this situation?
Bro, the community like us that were like born and raised here, like we don't even agree with them anyways. It's the ones like the new immigrants that have been coming here for like the past 10 years that are not like us. They in India, like there's been like a caste system going on forever, but like every like 3 generations it changes. So people need to accept that like we need to like understand the difference between right and wrong And when like our parents like came here, like they had to deal with a lot of racism overcome. And then after that, like people started really loving Indian people, and like people started caring about us. We became like really good neighbors and really good people. You guys came here in 8 years and whole reputation.
So when my parents came here, my dad went to night school right away. He realized that if he didn't learn English, he was not getting anywhere in this country. And they assimilated immediately. I don't remember a year without Thanksgiving, or my mother learned how to make pancakes right away, and so forth. You know, we went, we celebrated every Canada Day and the CNE, and we just, I don't remember a life where it was more Italian than Canadian. We were more Canadian kind of thing. Still kept their traditions, of course. Everybody should keep their traditions, but they assimilated right away. So I understand where Sunny is saying, you know, we came, we assimilated, we earned respect, right?
And it's about, I think even Sunny's talking about even about learning the rules, right? We're running rampant here with the legal land use. It would never occur to my parents to buy property and then just do whatever they want with it. Actually, my dad used to be a delivery man. So we did have a truck on the driveway, and we got one bylaw call, and he says, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I couldn't do that. I remember as a kid, and the truck was removed and never to be returned again, because they learn if it was a mistake for real, it was a mistake for real. And then he removed the truck, and then that was it. It was never on the driveway again, because he understood that he couldn't do that. So for us to see hundreds of trucks on a residential home, it's hard to watch when the rules are the rules. And so that if you're not abiding by the rules where you're living, then that's a problem. So I appreciate that he comes up and he says it straight up. Those are the rules, those are the laws, and everybody should be abiding by them.
Yeah. And I really think it's important. Anybody that comes from one country and lives in another, especially if it's not your first language when you move there, faces a lot of challenges. And I can see obviously why they would want to be close to their community that has a similar experience that they do, and help them get established in the new country. I can fully see that. And I think where a lot of this is falling down in the last, 10 years or so, is that people that immigrated here, decades ago, are exactly those stories that you're telling, right? That they, if they didn't understand something, they figured out, what's the right way to do it, and that's what they did. And what we're seeing now is something entirely different. It's like people come here from wherever they come from, and live in a community of other similar people, and then the expectation is all of a sudden now that there's new ways of doing things that don't really follow the law, and that if you're not doing things the new way, then you're not progressing, or that you're not changing with the times, and you're a dinosaur. Well, sorry, there's rules for a reason. If you don't like the rules, then work to change the rules. That's how it works here. But you don't just not follow the rules and do whatever the heck you want, regardless of whether you're destroying the environment, creating extreme road hazards that are killing people on the roads. Like, that's not okay. That's not okay.
It's an extreme. I mean, it's extreme issues here. It's not about, just small little law breaking. You're killing people, and you're contaminating the environment.
Yeah.
And that should be stopped right away. And the government is allowing it all.
Yeah.
And they're allowing this. The problem is what's next?
Yeah.
What's next that they're going to allow? Dumping anywhere they please.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening. Yeah, we've seen it in our own area, and in Vaughan too. So yeah, things have to. Something has to give.
And again, it's not talking about one race. It's everybody. You come here, you learn the laws, you abide by the laws, and if you're not, then you're punished. It's as easy as that. It should be as easy as that.
And
And it's
just
not like we're the only country that is like this. Most of the world is like this. You can't
Yeah.
just go to a country and do what you want. There's some countries that will actually, the communist countries, that would really get to you. But, you know, this is, I couldn't even say the Western world. This is 99% of the world that, you know, has rules for a reason,
yeah.
you know?
And just like Sunny said in one part of the video, he's like, how would you feel if we came to your country and started doing that there? Like, a lot of this is just about common, what should be common but isn't, common human courtesy, right? You treat other people how you would like to be treated. And
Yeah.
you know, what's happening on our roads, what's happening with illegal land use, what's happening, even just like how other people are speaking to each other, especially on social media, right? Behind that screen, you feel they have a sense of anonymity. um, just, you know, just think about that. Anytime you're putting that kind of nastiness out there, you're why would you do that? That's not helping anybody. That's just
No.
fostering division and hatred, and that's not what we need. We need everybody to get on the same page, everybody to be moving in the same direction, improving things for all of us, road safety, land use, you know, just treat people like you want to be treated. It's easy.
We're just right for wrong, right? If you're doing something wrong, you're doing wrong. It has nothing to do with race.
Yep.
And as for what you would do if that was your child on the bus, if I was him, I would think of the parents and give them peace and leave the country. I would not, because just to give them peace. This is what I did to these parents. This is what I will do. Not to drag it out further like this.
Yeah.
I'd be upset too.
They have to go through this over and over and over again, these poor parents.
Yeah.
I would do for the parents.
Yeah.
Just
And even for himself, right? Like, I mean, if it was me, I would leave too on my own, because people now know who you are and what's happened. I would have left.
Hmm.
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I guess it's his choice whether he continues to pursue this. But I think I just can't imagine being one of the family members having to, like, every time the case comes forward, it's back in the news again. People are asking you for comment. Like, it's just reopening the wound for it's, and they already have to live with the unimaginable. So, yeah, I don't know.
And it's a hard call, as in, you know, where do you draw the line where, you know, you're not a citizen of this country, you come here, you do something, and there's no risk to get deported. You know, they have to look at that too, like, where do you draw the line?
Yep.
And how much, you know, so it is a sticky situation.
Yeah. I totally understand what Sonny's getting at. I mean, it must be frustrated for him to watch his industry. He's been in it for 15 years now. And it's not only about, I mean, because it's his race too, right? He's probably targeted as well. But it's also about his industry and what it's doing to his business, this whole Drivers Inc. model. And a lot of these businesses can't survive, and they just want to learn. They're saying, okay, you can come, but you know, get your proper training, and there's nothing wrong with good competition, but to undercut them, and now his business is probably going downhill as well.
But it's not even good competition because, you know, unfortunately, they're exploited to come here. They're put into a truck, um, being paid dollars a day just for food to pay off an LMIA that doesn't exist. mostly. And, they live in probably squanderous areas where they live. Some of them I've heard have lived in their cabs or
Yeah.
in shipping containers. And so whoever's bringing them here is making all the profit. So they don't even know these guys. And, they're not cutting by 50%. They're probably cutting by even more. Right. So I can't imagine how much it's been cut, the trucking industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's known out there, and that's part of this problem as well. There's, as we said, right, there's that octopus head, and then there's all these tentacles, and there's so many situations that go right into that head. There's a lot to talk about. We could go on for hours.
We could, but I mean, really, that's why we wanted to bring this video forward, because sometimes there's videos that get shared with us or requested to be posted, and a lot of times we have to have a frank conversation about whether we think it's a good idea to post it or not, because a lot of times videos like this can elicit a lot of that, oh, you're racist, or even, not preferred comments using nasty names and saying all sorts of horrible things. And quite frankly, that's not the discussion we need to be having. There needs to be a constructive discussion, sort of like what we've just had here. And let's have that discussion and be frank and be honest with each other, instead of just being nasty and mean and horrible. The only way we're going to get some decent resolution to these kinds of things is if we can have constructive conversations where each person can have their point of view. And yeah, we've had conversations with people that are in favor of Drivers Inc. model. And we can have those conversations. That's fine. But at a certain point, we all have to agree that there are certain rules that need to be abided by. And if you're not willing to abide by the rules, then you need to try and change them as opposed to just ignoring them.
Yeah, and the understanding as well. I mean, it could be anybody's family out there that is impacted the next tragedy, and there's no race card there. I mean, it could be anybody's family.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to talk about road safety for just us. It's our whole community. It's every race. It's every color. It's all of us and all our children and all our families and our neighbors and friends.
Yeah. That's what
and
it's
I
all
just
about.
want to remind the members because, sometimes they're like, well, what are you guys talking about this for? Right. Because this all started with the yards that really a lot of us didn't even know they were illegal.
Yeah.
When this first started. And as we went down the rabbit hole, it just keeps getting deeper and it still keeps getting deeper and deeper, but, when you have the unqualified drivers, um, unput trucks, and so forth. And we are ground zero here in Caledon, Brampton, Vaughan border for this. We are at more risk than anyone probably in the country right now. I feel I don't think there's another place like this at the moment. And I'm hoping that the Minister Flaherty, I believe his name is, yeah, Rob Flaherty, will be making an announcement soon. Municipal power can help get the situation under control. And the rules have to change. Race doesn't matter. What matters is safety, rules, following the rules, and respecting everybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. There needs to be more respect out there from
Mhm.
all sides, right? Even just the general driving behavior on the road, whether it's cars or trucks. There's very little respect out there. We're all just trying to get from point A to point B, and no one person is more important than another. So, leave earlier, give yourself some time. Just take your responsibility when you're behind the wheel for your own behavior. And, you know, we'll all be better off for that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and hopefully we'll have some more discussions like this. We'll see you guys out there.
Bye.
Stay safe.